Robert's mind raced as he strode back to his barn, a plan crystallizing with each step. He'd served 20 years in the Army Corps of Engineers before buying this farm. Irrigation systems were literally his expertise. Time to put those skills to good use, he muttered, unlocking the large storage shed where he kept his farming equipment. Inside, past his tractor and tools, Robert uncovered a treasure trove perfect for his needs. Several 100 feet of flexible black irrigation hose he'd purchased on clearance last fall, a box of professional-grade pop-up sprinkler heads, various connectors, and a programmable irrigation control system he'd never gotten around to installing. Robert checked his security cameras. Yes, Diane was still lounging in her chair, now talking animatedly to her phone about connecting with authentic rural energy. He had time. The next 3 hours became a covert operation worthy of his military background. Moving with the stealth developed during deployments, Robert used the natural contours of his land to conceal his work. He extended water lines through the drainage ditch that bordered the pasture, camouflaging the black hoses with grass clippings and fallen leaves. He dug small, strategic holes for the sprinkler heads, positioning them for maximum coverage of Diane's elaborate campsite. The entire time, Robert kept one eye on his weather app, where the storm prediction grew increasingly ominous. The National Weather Service had upgraded from storm watch to severe thunderstorm warning, now forecasting damaging winds and potential flash flooding after midnight. Occasional thunder rumbled in the distance, though the skies remained deceptively calm. Around 4 o'clock, Robert's security alert pinged. Diane's car was leaving the property. Through his binoculars, he watched her purple SUV with name ST vanity plates bounce down his gravel driveway, likely headed for town. Perfect timing, Robert grinned, seizing the opportunity to finish his project. He worked methodically, installing the final sprinkler heads directly around the campsite perimeter. Unlike decorative garden sprinklers, these were professional grade with impressive 30-foot spray radiuses and adjustable pressure settings. Robert smiled as he remembered Diane's designer electronics scattered throughout her campsite, none of which appeared waterproof. Upon closer inspection of her abandoned campsite, Robert noticed concerning details. The expensive purple tent barely staked down on the windward side, a portable generator placed dangerously close to the lowest point of the pasture, which always collected water during heavy rains, and extension cords running across the ground in haphazard fashion, creating both tripping and electrical hazards. She really has no idea what she's doing out here, he muttered, briefly considering dismantling his sprinkler setup and just warning her again. Then he spotted the sign she'd erected at the edge of his property. Wellness INFLUENCR Retreat. FLELOUERS WLCOM. $25 entrance fee, with a QR code for payment. That settled it. Robert finished connecting the system to his main water line, which drew from his high-pressure well capable of supporting his entire property's irrigation. He set the digital timer for 11:30 p.m., half an hour before the worst of the storm was predicted to hit. This would give Diane one final chance to reconsider her poor life choices when she returned from town. As Robert made his way back to his house, a notification from the local weather service buzzed on his phone. Bree King. Severe thunderstorm warning upgraded to potential flash flood event, Millfield Lower Valley area. Robert looked back at the campsite, remembering how his property had earned its original name, Washout Farm, long before he'd bought and renamed it. He almost felt bad for what was coming. Almost. Sunday morning arrived with ominous dark clouds gathering on the distant horizon. Robert clutched a folder containing his property deed, boundary survey, and printouts of local trespassing ordinances as he trudged down to the pasture. What he found made his jaw drop. Overnight, Diane's campsite had transformed into what looked like a festival grounds. String lights crisscrossed between hastily assembled poles. A portable projector was aimed at a white sheet hanging from a tree branch. 3 additional tents had appeared, smaller than Diane's purple palace, but clearly part of her setup. A Bluetooth speaker the size of a small suitcase pumped out recorded birdsong and babbling brook sounds. drowning out the actual birds that had fled the area. Diane herself lounged in a zero-gravity chair, wearing a silk robe, cucumber slices over her eyes, and a mud mask on her face. A small drone hovered nearby, apparently filming the entire scene. "Good morning," Robert called over the artificial nature sounds, wondering if he'd stepped into an alternate reality. Diane lazily removed one cucumber slice, regarding him with a single eye. "Oh, it's the farmer again," she sighed dramatically as the drone swiveled to focus on Robert. "Say hello to my live audience." "I've brought documentation," Robert said firmly, holding up the folder while keeping his distance from the drone. "This property has been in my family for 3 generations. There's a dangerous storm coming tonight. Flash flood warnings for this exact area." He pointed to the gathering clouds. "For your own safety." "Oh, can you believe this?" Diane addressed her phone, which was propped up on a selfie stick. "Local color trying to ruin our wellness retreat. So authentic." She tapped something on her screen. "My weather app says 30% chance of light rain. It's fine." Glancing around, Robert noticed extension cords running from Diane's generator to various electronics, none of which appeared waterproof. "Those electronics aren't safe out here if it storms. There's a campground already booked solid." Diane cut him off, replacing her cucumber slice. "I called yesterday after your little visit. Besides, I scheduled a chakra-aligning hot stone treatment at the Millfield Spa tomorrow. Non-refundable. I'm not going anywhere until Tuesday." Robert took a deep breath. "I've called the sheriff." This got an actual laugh from Diane. She sat up, mud mask cracking around her smile, and addressed her phone again. "Hear that, followers? Local authorities being weaponized against peaceful campers." She turned to Robert, her voice dropping to a whisper the live stream wouldn't catch. "By the time they show up, I'll be gone without a trace. It'll be your word against mine, and I've got a law degree I never use except for situations like this." As Robert turned to leave, frustration boiling inside him, Diane called after him with syrupy sweetness. "Oh, by the way, your sprinkler system doesn't reach all the way out here, does it? I noticed those sprinkler heads by your vegetable garden." She gestured to her elaborate electronics setup. "All this equipment is very expensive, and I'd hate for there to be any accidents involving water damage." The gleam in her eye told Robert everything. She thought she'd secured her victory by identifying and neutralizing his potential revenge tactic before he'd even thought of it. Little did she know, she just handed him the perfect plan on a silver platter. Monday morning dawned impossibly bright and clear, as if the previous night's apocalyptic storm had been nothing but a shared nightmare. Birds chirped merrily in trees that had bent, but not broken, and steam rose gently from the sun-warmed puddles dotting Robert's property. Coffee mug in hand, Robert surveyed his domain from the porch. The upper portions of his farm had weathered the storm admirably, but the lower pasture, Diane's chosen campsite, resembled a war zone crossed with a swamp. Donning his mud boots, Robert sloshed down to assess the damage. What he found, or rather didn't find, stopped him in his tracks. The entire glamping setup had vanished. No garish purple tent, no portable espresso machine, no zero-gravity chairs. The only evidence anyone had been there at all was a strange collection of abandoned items half buried in mud. A waterlogged self-help book titled "Manifest Your Entitlement. Why You Deserve Everything You Want." A single designer hiking boot, retail price tag of $329.99 still attached, a portable phone charger embedded in mud like a fossil, and a stack of soggy business cards reading Diane Peters, life transformation expert and digital wellness influencer. "I'll change your algorithm for life." Robert collected the abandoned items in a bucket, unsure whether to feel vindicated or concerned about what had happened to Diane after she fled during the night. His question was answered shortly before noon when a sheriff's department SUV splashed up his muddy driveway. Deputy Marshal Collins, who Robert knew from community events, stepped out with a conflicted expression. "Morning, Robert," he called, accepting the offered mug of coffee. "Quite a storm last night, huh?" "Biblical," Robert agreed, almost like someone up there was trying to make a point. Speaking of points, Deputy Collins said, pulling out his notepad. "I'm here about a rather interesting complaint filed at 6 a.m. today by one Diane Peters." Robert raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Ms. Peters alleges that her professional meditation retreat was, and I quote, "maliciously sabotaged by a farmer who activated a military-grade irrigation system during a light rain shower while she was, quote, legally exercising her right to camp on public recreational land." Robert took a slow sip of coffee. "That right? She's demanding criminal charges for destruction of property, claiming $23,000 in damaged equipment, including something called a spiritual alignment drone that costs apparently more than my annual salary." The deputy looked pained. She also mentioned her lawyer is her brother-in-law who specializes in targeting rural properties for corporate development. "Interesting," Robert said mildly. "I assume you'd like to see my property deed." 20 minutes later, Deputy Collins was staring at Robert's sprinkler setup in the pasture, now disassembled and neatly organized in sections. "So you're telling me this automated system has been on the same timer schedule for years?" the deputy asked, making notes. "Every other night at 11:30, Robert confirmed, laying out laminated irrigation charts from his farming records. "Essential for pasture maintenance in these parts. I even specifically warned Ms. Peters about it twice." He pulled out his phone. "I also have security footage of her setting up a ticketed event on my private property without permission and installing that sign, charging people to enter my land." Robert Jenkins wiped sweat from his brow as he mended a fence post on his small hobby farm. The same 10 acres he poured his heart into for 15 years after escaping corporate life. The morning sun cast long shadows across his picturesque pasture that bordered the popular Millfield Ridge hiking trail. He waved to a group of passing hikers who respectfully stayed on the marked path skirting his property line, just as hundreds had done before. His friendly wave froze midair when he spotted something that definitely didn't belong. A garish purple tent pitched boldly in the middle of his lower pasture, its expensive fabric gleaming in the morning light like an alien spacecraft that had landed overnight. "What in tarnation?" he muttered, dropping his tools with a clatter. As Robert approached, his boots squelching through the dew-soaked grass, he discovered not just a simple campsite, but what appeared to be a full-blown glamping setup. A woman in designer outdoor wear, pristine hiking boots that had clearly never seen mud, was unfolding a portable bamboo table to accompany her matching ergonomic chairs. A top-of-the-line propane grill larger than the one on Robert's own porch was already assembled, and a portable espresso machine sat brewing on a collapsible countertop. "Excuse me, ma'am," Robert called, tipping his worn work hat politely. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. This is private property." The woman turned, designer sunglasses perched on her head, and sized him up with a dismissive glance that made Robert instantly conscious of his mud-stained overalls and weathered hands. "I'm Diane Peters," she said without offering her hand. "And this," she gestured to the valley view, "is the perfect backdrop for my wellness retreat live stream tomorrow. The algorithm loves nature content." She turned back to arranging color-coordinated cushions on her chairs. "Ma'am, Ms. Peters, there must be some confusion. This isn't public land. This is my farm." Diane laughed as if he told a charming joke. "Oh, please, I researched thoroughly. The right to roam laws clearly state that undeveloped land with no crops is accessible for temporary recreation." She pulled out her phone, displaying a website. "See? I'm an influencer. I can't afford legal mistakes." Robert squinted at the website, a blog called Stealth Camping Secrets, and noted the article was about Scotland, not rural Pennsylvania. "That's for another country entirely," he explained, pointing to the URL. "There's a lovely campground just 3 miles down the road with electrical hookups and—" "Do they have this view?" Diane cut him off, gesturing dramatically. "Besides, I've already tagged this location in my pre-live stream posts. I have followers driving from 3 states away to meet me here tomorrow. I can't just move." When Robert stood his ground, explaining property laws, her demeanor shifted instantly from dismissive to aggressive. "Listen," she hissed, stepping uncomfortably close. I have 50,000 followers who will cancel your little farm into oblivion if you harass me. This is just empty space going to waste. Don't be so selfish. She pulled out her phone again, this time opening the camera. Shall I start recording how the local farmer is threatening a single woman alone in the countryside? How do you think that will play online? Stunned by her breathtaking entitlement, Robert retreated to his farmhouse, hands shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. A quick call to the sheriff's office crushed his hopes for immediate resolution. Budget cuts meant non-emergency trespassing wouldn't see a response until Monday at the earliest. Robert slumped into his porch chair, staring at the purple monstrosity in his pasture. That's when his weather alert app pinged. Severe thunderstorm warning, Sunday night. A slow smile spread across Robert's weathered face as an idea took root. If the sheriff couldn't teach this trespasser a lesson about respecting other people's property, perhaps Mother Nature, with a little help, could. The deputy's eyebrows shot up as he watched the footage. Is she collecting payment from hikers to access your property? Yes, sir. Got about 15 visitors before the storm hit. $25 a head. Deputy Collins sighed heavily, closing his notebook. Well, Mr. Jenkins, I don't see any crime here on your part. Seems to me Ms. Peters was the one breaking multiple laws. He smirked slightly. Must have been quite a coincidence that your regular irrigation schedule happened during the storm. The Lord works in mysterious ways, Robert replied solemnly, fighting to keep a straight face. As the deputy turned to leave, he paused. Just so you know, Ms. Peters mentioned pursuing civil action for the equipment damages. Thought you should be prepared. Robert nodded thoughtfully. Might be difficult without proving she was here legally, but I appreciate the heads up. 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived from Peters and Weintraub Legal Associates, demanding $43,750 for destroyed equipment and emotional distress, causing loss of social media revenue. The letter threatened to litigate this rural property into corporate ownership. What Diane's lawyer brother-in-law hadn't counted on was Robert's own family connection. His daughter, Sarah Jenkins, partner at a prestigious Philadelphia law firm specializing in property rights and internet fraud. Sarah's response was surgical, a cease and desist letter accompanied by Robert's property deed, timestamp security footage, and most devastatingly, 27 screenshots from Diane's own social media accounts. These included Diane's Instagram post showing her campsite with the caption, "Finding my bliss on this perfect secluded countryside. No permits, no fees, except what I'm charging my followers lol. #stealth camping, #trespassing vibes." Her TikTok tutorial titled How to Camp Annually Without Permission. A live stream clip where she specifically stated, "This farmer thinks he owns this land just because he has some paper saying he owns this land. But the universe provides for those bold enough to take." Screenshots of payments received through her wellness trespass event QR code, totaling $375. The lawyer's response came swiftly, a single-line email reading, "Matter closed." That spring, Robert invested in proper fencing along the hiking trail boundary and installed clear private property signs. He kept the sprinkler system in the lower pasture, upgrading it to an even more powerful model. The following summer, a familiar purple SUV with name AST license plates slowly drove past Robert's farm. It didn't stop, but Robert, sitting on his porch, raised his coffee mug in a friendly salute anyway. Sometimes the best lessons come with a good soaking.